Hey, do you know what? I figured out that given our method of recording and uploading, that this will actually be our pre-Christmas episode. It will be going live, Live, on... I don't know why I spelled that.
It's good to know that you weren't spelling it Love or Life or any of the other close words that come up when you autocorrect on a mobile phone.
Maybe Maybe, we, could... it would be quite a slow episode. We could spell every word just for the sake of fantastic clarity.
This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. I mean, there's a chance that the doorbell will ring while we're recording, and I'll have to, because, you know, the
have
delivery.
You got a package?
What?
Is it DPD?
Oh.
Is it DHL?
I don't...
What are the brown... UPS? There we go, the ones in the brown van. Is it the Royal Mail?
I don't know. The Royal Mail was this morning, but the next package is something that Lil ordered. So I don't know who the deliverers are.
Anyway, so we're recording in the run-up to Christmas, which means that it's the middle of December in 2020, and it's been the end of a curious year. But we're also now just in the teeth of Brexit negotiations. And Boris Johnson sat down and had his dinner with Ursula von der Leyen. I don't think it went well. It looks like we're going to have a no deal, all of that sort of stuff. And I'm not planning on getting mired down in Brexit. But it made me start to think about legacy, because this is a job that he has wanted forever, and he got it. And then a global pandemic happened, and the idea of being able to have your cake and eat it disappeared in relationship to Brexit. And I find myself, and I think many people find themselves reflecting that this is somebody who, when he was voted in, looked like he had this huge populist wave behind him, but he's now, people in his own party are saying he is not a two-term prime minister. So it left me thinking about that idea of legacy. What do we want to leave behind?
I love the... I'm reminded of that thing about when you go to the beach, the only thing you should leave behind is your footprints.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've actually got a will. I have a will.
Well done.
And thank you. One of the things in my will is about where my data goes. And by data, I mean hard drives loaded with, massive files, project files from 30 odd years of making art. And, not quite, more or less. And I've actually, what is it? Is the word bequeath? Is that the word?
Yeah, bequeath is indeed the word.
I've bequeathed my these hard drives to a friend who lives in Australia. His name's David Corbett.
I know Corbetron.
You do? And
well, I don't know him. I've never met him, but I follow him on Instagram, and we always like each other's pictures.
That's right. And what more could you want in a relationship?
Pretty much as close as I need to be to anyone.
I've developed this little sort of neck twitch while we're recording, which is when you say something which I think is funny, I have to turn my head away from the mic in order to swallow, just like that.
Just let it out. Let it out.
I'm very laugh retentive, which may come as some kind of surprise to people.
Given how many times people hear this.
I just heard it the other day. I was just like, oh my God, all that guy's doing in the background is like
I do try quite hard to smooth them out, but some of them just make me giggle, so I leave them in. Guess I quite like them. They sound so.
The pop filter I'm using is clearly just, I need something a little bit more heavy duty. A laugh filter.
Yeah.
So I lost my train. I lost my train of thought.
You're bequeathing David Corbett your digital archive.
Hard drives. I mean, he actually doesn't know this, but I've got...
Now I'm doing it. That seems like a cruelty. Can I just say? He doesn't know it, But
So, do you know that Marie Kondo thing when she's really clear that you just must not just start loading your stuff off on other people? It's basically the worst thing you can do. Like, your friends. Hey, would you like this?
I have a feeling that there'll be a point if you predecease him. I really hope there's a moment where he's standing there holding each hard drive, going, "Does this bring me joy?"
I like you. There's one of them.
No,
It's funny because the idea that he's just standing there with two hard drives. One of the things I have is called a Synology, which is basically 5 hard drives, massive 8 terabytes. So it's 40 terabytes. It's a huge quantity of data, which is in this massive kind of disc holding thing. And the idea that you could even hold it with one hand, it's going to cost half of my estate to send the fucking thing to Australia.
That's an interesting thing to think about, the ephemerality of your legacy. Data is both, well, it's hard and...
Do you know that concept of data rot?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not too well versed in it, but the idea that it says it on the tin, really.
Yeah.
That in time that data has the potential to and will change. That even though it's we're dealing with a binary, what we think of as a very fixed thing, and that's not just about the mechanism on which it's stored changing, which of course it will decay.
Yeah.
Whatever that device is, but the data itself, as I understand it, we should DuckDuckGo it.
Oh yeah, totally. DuckDuckGo some data rot. That sounds awesome. What about the material stuff that you leave behind? Because you and Lil are quite you live quite lightly on the planet. I've always thought.
You're just a backpack.
Not quite that lightly, but you don't have an overabundance of stuff. I always imagine that you've got a one-in, one-out policy.
We don't have such a policy.
It feels like you are both non-materialistic enough.
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think it's actually because I actually think we're materialists in the sense that I speak for myself. I don't speak for others. It's that I value the quality of materials and the things I have enough to want to keep them. Meaning, I'd much rather buy something or invest in something that's going to last and that I can look after and take care of and repair. And so, to me, that makes me a materialist in that, in the sense of being concerned for the materiality, the thingness of objects, which is different from being a consumerist.
We've worried about materialism before, haven't we? Together, we that idea of not mindlessly consuming.
I mean, the question is, what do you imagine will happen to that extraordinary collection of knickknacks? What will happen to all those things?
I suspect whoever we leave the house to will hire somebody to take it all to landfill. In a sense, this does circle back in some ways to the idea of legacy, because the thing that you want to leave behind, the thing that you think is of value, is not necessarily the thing that people are going to be responding to. We've joked that more people listen to this podcast than have read any of our academic writing.
It's not even
probably
close,
combined.
Actually. I can't. No, I mean, seriously, it's not even close.
I just think
for the first few days it was close.
Okay. Sorry, that just makes me laugh. But that sense of the things that you put out into the world that you want... I'm not even sure that this is true, because we put things out into the world from an academic...
We're recording my legacy as we speak, Lee Miller.
When you say that this is your legacy, that's not a joke. It's a true story, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, because it's only going to remain as long as we're paying for hosting and all that kind of thing. So no, it's not. Because it lives beyond that, because people download it. You can save things. People can save things. Oh, it's true. I do love that. We basically become... I think people should be investing now. I think this is the heart of this particular story, is that people should be investing in this podcast immediately. And because I always have that sort of sense of, I had this really cool T-shirt from the original Star Wars films. So 1977. If I still owned that T-shirt, if I'd kept it in mint condition, that would be worth a ton. right now. So it's going to be the same with midlife.
Yeah. People should download and keep these episodes. But
Because
download
one
them
day-
7, 8, 10, 15 times.
Put them on your Synology. Send them to David Corbett in Melbourne.
Have we just upgraded him to future curator of our massive digital oeuvre?
I don't even know if he listens to this. I know he's listened to one episode.
Well, one's enough.
I just hope he doesn't listen to any more, but then people start sending him. He just starts getting these episodes.
Why am I getting all these hard drives delivered to me? This feels really odd.
So we watched a documentary last night it was something about like the man and his shoe or something like that. And it's about the Air Jordan, about Michael Jordan, these shoes, the Air Jordan.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And, and I guess it's a really very badly made documentary, I have to say. It was really disappointing, but...
way to sell it.
Well, it was just so uncritical, and just a lot of listening to marketing people tell us how good they are after the fact.
Right.
Right. But there was also those collectors, some person who had like 1,400 pairs of...
sorry. 1,400 pairs of shoes.
Correct. Of Air Jordans. And he had them in plastic containers, and he wore them all, which means that some pairs he didn't get to wear for like 3 or 4 years. He rotated them. They weren't kept new.
That is...
Talk about legacy.
I just think there's something really beautiful about investing in the practice of wearing something which so many people will just throw on unthinkingly. In a way, although when you first say 1,400 pairs of Nike Jordans,
it's a Melda Marcos, isn't it? Really?
Well, it does. It sounds like profligacy in its worst possible form. It sounds like rampant consumerism. But then when you think about the relationship that I'm guessing it's a he.
Yes, he was a he. He still is. He's alive.
That tickles Bob every time you say he's alive, because she's like, I wonder if Irene knows her legacy is to have infected Simon with the idea that you have to let everybody know who's alive and who's dead, just in case they've forgotten.
Yeah, but it was also the sting in the tail of that particular documentary, as I imagine most people know, is that people have been killed for their Air Jordans. But even the way that was played in this documentary kind of trivialized it, because there's been court cases against Nike.
Really, I didn't know that. So they've been held accountable for the nature of desire.
Because they also create scarcity. So they create desire because of not producing enough shoes at the beginning. But
that's not Nike. That's post Fordist neoliberal economics, isn't it? That's how we work.
They're doing
now.
What they do.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing what any company would be expected to do.
That's like being angry at a shark for swimming forward and eating things. You can't really get angry at a shark for doing that.
Yeah, that is an interesting argument. Yeah, because of the particular circumstances of a particular organisation, or in this case, corporation, doing what corporations do and what anyone would expect them to do, particularly their shareholders.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh no, you can't do that because of the actions of certain people, and I mean, it is that very old, and it's quite a polarised idea of what we take responsibility for.
I think we should totally be dismantling that kind of capitalist economy. I'm not in support of it, but that's not something that as an individual company is responsible for. That's something that we as a society need to move against.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but they are part of that society, so they are part of it as well.
Slippery slope, but also because of, what are the limits to marketing, advertising to children?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, yeah, you're right. I've just changed my mind. I've 100% changed my mind. Let's bring sanctions against everyone. No, I have.
Because I had something this week. I read something with someone. It was James O'Brien, James O'Brien is someone you would know. He speaks on. He's got a radio show or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, he said, "What's the point in having a mind if you never change it?"
Oh my God! I love that.
It's great, eh?
That is so lovely.
Yeah.
So this
I'm
is
glad
like
we got to hear you change your mind live.
Yeah,
well, not live. Actually, the 23rd of December. This is total Marty McFly stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. But
We're in the future. We're in the future right now.
Don't you know how I
We
feel
are.
about Back to
We
the
are in the
Future?
future.
It creeps me out. It freaks. Stop it. It really bothers me.
Not only are we in the future, it's a Wednesday today.
Anyway, our post bag, there's been
exponential post bag. Thank you.
There's been fulsome praise, which I was grateful for.
Wait. That fulsome praise one
was aimed at you, I know.
It says, just wanted to let you know that Craig enjoys Simon's voice more.
I like how you're reading that. I like how you just
I've
didn't
got it
try
here.
to remember it. You went straight. I am going to read this so everybody knows.
Great
that
podcast. I feel obligated to give you praise.
Oh!
But you know the legacy thing. It is. I do find it fascinating because I think I've changed my mind on the whole synology to David Corbett in Melbourne because I think those things should be wiped and used as however anyone would want them to be used.
So you end up bequeathing the object, not the content.
Correct. I mean, I think it would depend on the order in which we die.
Yeah.
And also how old we are, because I'm not sure I'd be bothered wiping them. So they would be getting whoever picks up the Synology, which of course by that time is going to be pretty dated bit of hardware. And it might be possible, I expect it would be possible to access most, if not all of the data, and they can do whatever they want with it. There'll be a few surprises in there, I reckon.
Yeah. How do you want to be remembered?
God, I mean, that is...
Because, that's
I've
that's
never
sort
been
of
asked
really...
that question, and I so love that you've just asked it so directly, because that really is what you were asking me at the beginning.
Well, yeah, and that's yeah. I mean, I really enjoy the meandering around objects because I'm sitting surrounded by more books than it's possible for a human being to read. Not maybe in a lifetime, but certainly I'm going to need to really commit to it in retirement. I'm touching a book that my grandma gave me when I was 7. So there's bits. I've now just moved on to the first book I bought, Bob. I've got my finger on that. So there's things here that are deeply important as kind of as totems. Yeah. But I also know that they're not. They're valueless to anybody else, which is why they're in my house and not somebody else's. Whilst that kind of idea of materiality is fascinating, I am interested in the fact that, and it is coming at this from where we are in the kind of the political news cycle and thinking about how will this particular prime minister be remembered in perpetuity, and I don't think it will be well. Whatever side of the fence you sit on, I don't think it will be well with the thousands of coronavirus deaths, the misinformation, the malinformation that their government put forward. I should say our government, because actually, they are supposed to be representing us.
Not my president.
Feels like, well, that's what it feels like, doesn't it? But that sense that the malinformation that was used both to get him into power, but also to continue to divide and conquer an already divided nation, just makes my heart sink. But in the present, but then wondering how this will be read 50 years hence. So parking all of that, which is too big for my tiny brain to hold, how do you want to be remembered?
Wow. So I actually find the question quite moving in a way. And I'm not at all really prepared to answer it. I wish I could say something funny. Yeah, it's not a. It's not,
but it's not a joke, is it?
It's not. It's really not.
It's not something that you can just. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could, given if we edit out all the dead air.
Yeah,
we could probably get to the giggles, but I do find myself going, okay, so because we're both child-free, there is the sense that there is nobody immediate who will be holding us in their heart.
So, and I think this is really important because I'm really comfortable with that idea. And I think if I were to try and answer the question as directly as possible, I would say that I would be remembered by a few people as someone who lived lightly on the planet. And I think, the word lightly, you could interpret it in many different ways. And the one where I think I will spend the last of my years, whether it's 30 or 40 or 20 or 10, which is respectfully, like, how is it that I might live and be remembered as someone who respected others. And we've touched on these subjects before in different ways, and so this has nothing to do with my Synology or my hard drives or the things I made as an artist or those things. They are not important to me at all. I'm very, very comfortable with the idea that they'll be gone because, in effect, it just depends on the timescale you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
20 years, right? There might be people I taught or people that they'd seen something I made. With, oh, you remember that work by that guy? What was his name again? But then if it's 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, come on. And so really, I'm really comfortable with the idea that effectively a legacy is a very finite thing. It's very, very close to a very small group of people for a very limited time. And that's very different from what you're talking about in relation to old Bojo.
Yeah. And that the people who will be remembered are probably not the people who should be remembered.
Well, ain't that history?
Yeah. I know I bang on about my dad loads. And I think it's probably because he's in the twilight of his years. But my cousin died in her mid-30s of ovarian cancer. She had just had a baby. So she had her first child in her early 20s and her second child in her mid-30s. So there was like a 13, 14-year age gap between the two children. She just, she'd got married, had a baby, gone back to work, got carried away with her career, really enjoyed it. Then sort of with her husband went, "Ooh, maybe we would like another kid." And so she had a second daughter. And she just missed all of the signs of ovarian cancer for being tired, a tired new mum. So it was, by the time it was diagnosed, she had weeks left to live. And we went to her funeral, and it was absolutely heaving. It was standing room only. There were people out the back of the chapel, craning in through the doors. It was
like a Coldplay concert, basically.
Yeah, I can't do that. No,
sorry.
No, that's okay, but I can't do that. It was too sad. Oh. It was too sad because this is a woman younger than us.
35, is it what you said?
I think she was 36, mid-30s, and it was heaving. So this was my dad's niece, my dad's sister's daughter, and my dad turned to me and said, this is just not what you want. You want it to be just you and a priest who doesn't really know you. You in a box and a priest going, don't really know who this person is, never met him, maybe people thought nicely about him, dunno. He said, you'd never want there to be this many people at your funeral. My dad is a really emotionally available but not sentimental man. He doesn't.
What a great mix.
Yeah. He has, since I was a child, he has always told me and still tells me he loves me, and unproblematically comes out of his mouth.
Doesn't, so beautiful.
That sense of wanting to have nobody left behind, I think, speaks to the kind of legacy that he wants.
And do you think he's? I have too many things to say here, but do you think he means that it's not because he's outlived other people? It's more like there's. I don't even know how to say it, but that there's something about him being like people don't have to worry about him. His sort of lack of sentimentality, or that there's nothing to worry about here, because the funerals of young people are always just terrible. Yeah,
that's what he means when he doesn't want a good turnout. Yeah, But I don't, I don't think it's that he wants to deliberately outlive everybody else.
He wants to be the last man standing.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that he wants to do it as an act of spite, but I think there is something in there about the idea of not really holding on to the idea that, let's say, many people left.
Sure.
Because I don't think he was giving me a tacit...
don't come to my funeral.
Yeah, I don't think he was giving me permission to not turn up.
Hey, I want to apologise because I think it's so interesting, this sort of performance of these conversations, and I think that will settle in time. But I want to apologise because I think I know there must be. I've learned, I guess, that there are times when dropping Coldplay into a conversation is not funny. And I'm making a joke of it now, but I'm really deadly serious that I think that was, it was disrespectful. Which is only a few minutes after saying how much I wanted to spend the last years of my life being more respectful.
Yeah,
well, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious.
No, well, thanks, but I think when we're talking about death, and I think when we're talking about the death of people who are young, I think there is a sense of anxiety that spirals up. And you, probably above all the people that I know, when you encounter something that makes you uncomfortable, your mechanism is to bat it away with usually poorly timed humour.
Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, it hurts so much to hear you say that. It's so true, but I just,
But, I mean,
it pains me.
Well, I mean, what I don't want to do is double down on your pain.
No. I'm not feeling that, but it pains me because it's true, right?
Well, because I've got another. I've got another story that I think will be one of those real total buzzkills. That is about you that we've never. Okay, this actually goes to a question from one of our listeners. I'm not sure if we're ready to go there, Simon. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, I mean, it might mean that that this is a two-parter.